today we have the honor of speaking with Mr. Pon Paragraph. How you doing today, man?
Hello, thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for being here, and I'm excited to dive in. You're clearly doing a lot, and it's very exciting. I can't wait. But first, it's time to level up.
Take it to the next level. Take it to the next level.
And we're back, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome. I hope you're fired up. I know I certainly am. Now, dude, I'm so excited that you decided to come on the show today. You are the CEO of GameSwift. You're also the co-founder of Star Heroes game, and I'm pretty sure that Star Heroes was the only Web3 game that has received a Microsoft grant. Did I get my research right there?
You are very close to the reality, to the truth. Actually, GameSwift is the whole ecosystem for gaming, the whole infrastructure, but also a GameSwift studio, which is producing the game Star Heroes. And our game Star Heroes was the first Web3 game rewarded with the grant by Microsoft.
Perfect.
By
Well,
the way,
that's
you had
super
a
exciting.
really nice intro. That was the first time I've ever seen. Someone has definitely a very good time while developing it.
Yeah. Well, that someone was me, and it was a lot of fun, and I still get fired up
Yeah,
every time I
I
hear
guess you are a fan of dubstep music, right?
it. Oh, of course. Of course. Yes. It's all part of the fun. And
Fine.
yeah, it's exciting. So yeah, so everything you're doing is incredible. Clearly you guys also partnered with with a Polygon or Polygon Studios. I think it's Polygon
Yes,
Studios.
so actually both of them, and we will get into the details with that.
Yeah, fantastic. So clearly spending a little bit of time just digging around all the couple of different projects. What you're doing is really cool. I think there's a ridiculously cool amount of potential there. For those who may not be super familiar, can you just give us a snapshot of the ecosystem? What exactly is in it, and let's break it down for the people.
Sure. I was looking for an opportunity where I can share our life, but long story short, GameSwift is the infrastructure which is resolving the problem of onboarding traditional gamers for the Web3 world. So, our mission while developing Star Heroes, our own space shooter game, was to provide the highest possible level of experience and to basically. Delete, cancel those high barrier of entry, which is stopping traditional gamers from entering Web3 games. Because what is the reality and why we are experiencing such a high fat from and backlash from traditional gaming? Currently, when you enter a Web3 game, you need to download MetaMask to save the seed phrase, go through Fiat on Ramp to purchase some ETH or other gas fees based token. Then you need to finally pay a couple of $100 for the NFT, which is giving you access to the game. And let's assume that somebody has passed through all of those troubles. But at the end of the day, he's receiving a very poor quality game. In real gaming, it is the matter of $60 and you are getting a high quality AAA game here.
If
For
that much.
yeah, if that much. So currently you can, for example, buy Cyberpunk for $25. That's a very high AAA game, which their ex developers, they've been also co-producing our Star Heroes based game, so we are having some taste from Cyberpunk. and that's $25, right? So on ETH, sometimes you need to pay that much for gas fees, right? Not speaking about NFT. So we are, very deep into the not only Web3 but also into the traditional gaming. Like I said, many of our developers have been working in CD Projekt Red on Witcher series or Cyberpunk. So we know their skepticism. We are very aware of this kind of backlash. So while developing Star Heroes, we've been looking and seeking for a solution how we can avoid those troubles and those problems. And that's the foundation, and that's the main idea behind GameSwift. So since we created a special architecture, which is basically allowing traditional gamers to play Web3 games with the same user experience like those traditional games, that's the mission of Star Heroes and GameSwift as infrastructure. So I believe that the future of scalability of blockchain is not based on the fact that you need to have your own wallet, pay the gas fees. I believe that this all transactions on blockchain will be based underneath the interface, so the user is not have to bothering with all that stuff, and that's what we do in GameSwift. Long story short.
I love that. Now, one of the things that I'm still very curious about is how do you abstract away that very complicated route from I have figured out that I want to play something to now I can actually play it. If they now don't have to go through all those different steps, what is abstracted away with your architecture and how does that actually work?
Okay, so let's say that you are a traditional gamer and you would like to play some Web3 game. I assume that currently there are not much of Web3 games that you can play with high quality. My personal expectation is the first high quality titles we can expect next year. And let's say that you would like to play Star Heroes game. Because our launch is planned for the next year. So all you need to do is just to create account on GameSwift platform, which is also very easy. Let's assume that you don't want to waste your time clicking and creating your own nickname. You can use your social medias or Google or Apple ID to create this account in a few clicks. Since you have the account, basically you have all necessary tools in order to play the game. So you are just going through the library of the games which you like to play. Let's say that you are choosing Star Heroes and you click play. Let's assume that you are the first time here on the GameSwift. So you need to download a game launcher on your desktop, and this will automatically allow you, after downloading it, to play and open the game, download and open the game just through our platform. So since the game is running, yes, that's the same user experience which is traditional gamers have on major platforms like Steam or Epic Games. But what might be a problem at the first glance is what is happening next, because let's say that you enter the game and you are starting to earn some digital assets like tokens or NFTs, and there needs to be some place where they are going to be distributed. And here is where magic comes in, because we are creating a special built-in wallet which is strictly integrated with your GameSwift account. So all of those stuff, all of those digital assets you are receiving on this account. So at this stage, as you can see, this user didn't have to download and save the seed phrase. All he had to do is just to create the account and log into the game without any wallet. But then, since you earned some digital assets, GameSwift platform is showing you how much is it worth. And the user might be surprised because he played a couple of hours and this is worth, let's say, $20. So okay, what I can do to withdraw that? That's amazing value for the time I spent in this game. And that might be at the first glance another problem, because in real life this kind of user would have to go through probably go for some decks, then go through the fiat of ramp, and then finally to his bank account. In this case, on the GameSwift platform, all user needs to do is just to click I would like to withdraw those funds automatically. And the GameSwift platform will show you what is the estimated value of funds that you are going to receive to your bank account, and you just need to send the deposit account which you would like to receive those funds. So you are going to directly receive your funds to your bank account without even bothering with all the blockchain stuff. What is happening underneath is we are launching the transaction on DEX or SEX, depending on where the token is launched, with the market sale. And then this token is going through Fiat of Ramp, which is cooperating with us. We are integrated with a couple of providers, and then it's sent to the bank account listed and by the user. But he didn't have to bother about all that stuff because that was going underneath, and that's basically the process. But let's say that you are the fan on the Web3 space, right? And you might say and send some kind of accusation towards us that, yeah, but I am fan of decentralization. For example, I didn't like what happened to Binance Smart Chain last time, where the hack happened. We are here to avoid centralization, and your solution might seem to be a little bit centralized because the user didn't need to bother anything, but that's let's say custody and solution. So this is why we are having also a special solution for this type of users, which are the fans of decentralization at Web3, like me, for example. So this kind of user, he's able to connect his MetaMask wallet, Phantom wallet, whatever wallet which is supported by our platform, and you need to do it only once. So you are doing this by signing transaction. And by signing transaction, you are declaring that you are and proving that you are the owner of all digital assets which are stored under this wallet. So since we as the GameSuite, we are having information that those digital assets or NFTs belongs to you, then when you want to open the game, you don't need to connect your MetaMask because that was already integrated with your GameSwift account. And thanks to this, all you need to do is just to log into the game. And when you earn those rewards, they are not going to be distributed towards our, integrated GameSwift wallet, but to yours wallet directly. Thanks to this is non-custodial. You don't need to share your seed phrase, which is very safe. And it's also kind of the helpful solution for those who are not fans of connecting their wallets to every new game that came to their attention, because we also are aware of many exploits which are connected with situations where users connected to their wallets or approved some transactions or get into any other interaction with smart contracts on new websites, which tends to be scammy. Here, you don't need to do that because all this kind of user needs to do is just to sign in with a GameSwift ID with GameSwift platform. So, and the game, thanks to our API, knows that, okay, this user is having NFT on his wallet, which is going to unlock some in-game assets which are connected with this NFT inside of the game. So that's long story short, maybe not that short, but that's the process. And I'm really fan of this since This is the process which is universal. This could be applied not only to the traditional gamer, but also to the Web3 gamer. And this is why I think every type of gamer will be happy while using GameSwift platform.
So it's clear that what you have built there is a step forward because it gives the Web 2 people or even the Web 3 people that just don't want to deal with it, it gives them an easy way. And then the Web 3 people that we want to get more involved, we want to be fully in control of our own destiny. It gives us a place to play too. So it seems like everybody's happy. That's a really big innovation in the space. And that's really exciting. And I really like how you did that too. And I appreciate you breaking that down. Now, when you're thinking about what is the most important thing for GameSwift, it seems like it is now partnering with great games and bringing great games to the marketplace, right? And so, please correct me if I'm wrong. I have been wrong before. I'm sure I'll be wrong again.
You are totally right here.
So, okay, so I think like this is the Web3 arms race that very few people realize is going on, but is absolutely going on. And it's going to be a massive determining factor for what happens in the next like 5 to 100 years, right? So how is that going? And what is it actually like being a platform that now you're trying to attract and sometimes even go out and court games to bring onto the platform? What is that actually like? And I consume a lot of content too. You kind of create or build what you want, So never have I heard, or very rarely have I heard of people talking about what that's actually like. So maybe we could dive into that because I think that'd be really interesting.
Yes, so I think you are right at this point that since we are very close to launching our proprietary infrastructure, and that's the first big milestone for us, then we need users and products which are going to be integrated with this. And this is a very big mission for our business development department. And I can reveal that we've signed our first integrations and partnerships, including one of the biggest group of gaming studios in the world, which are going to exclusively build and launch their games on our chain. Because what is important, this GameSwift platform infrastructure is the core of our business model. But on top of that, we are aware that some of games would like to have their native token listed in one place with a very highly detailed targeted user. So this is something which is applying for GameSwift chain, which is the chain that we are co-producing with Polygon and Polygon Studios. This is a totally separate chain, but using Polygon-based technology. And speaking of this challenge, because of course that's a very, very big challenge for us to cooperate and provide services and find a deal flow for our platform users. I think the reason why we see a big potential in this process is the fact that we are perfectly aware of the needs of games, since we've been creating our own game and we've been creating a infrastructure which is making this game easier to interact with. Then we are perfectly aware of all end-to-end processes that need to be done in order to develop the game. And this applies not only to the technical support, technical implementation, but also to the fundraising, to the marketing, which is very different to the traditional gaming world. And I think that's our great advantage. And that's the reason why we are so successful in onboarding big Web2 brands. I think although I cannot reveal their names because that will be subject to the big announcement, but I can reveal that we've signed a very big gaming studio which has sold over 100 million copies of their games. So this will be a huge milestone for our users. And since there have millions of gamers, that's also a great opportunity to introduce them to the Web3 world. Because so that's to sum up. I think our great advantage is that we are perfectly aware of the needs of the games, because we do this game for ourselves, and since we are combining a know-how of traditional gaming development and Web3 development in one place. So we are not in need of using some external contractors here. Another aspect is the PR and expectations of those games, because what they are expecting, I'm speaking about big brands, they are expecting, and they are a little bit afraid of PR consequences, because currently there is a big backlash from traditional gamers. And those top brands like Sony, even Microsoft, Tencent, they are not going directly into the direction of Web3, even though I see and I know that they try. But I think that's not the right moment, and this is why, since this kind of the big player decides to cooperate with us, they need to be sure that this infrastructure will be on the highest possible level, that those gamers are not going to be in trouble with MetaMask, gas fees, and stuff. That's our another great advantage, that our infrastructure is prepared in this way. And I think that's the most important points. Basically, my experience is that every game is having a little bit different expectations. Some of them are coming from infrastructure because they have a very good product, so they are in need of having infrastructure which is empowering the massive adoption of traditional gamers. Another point are the games that are in a very early stage of development. So they are having know-how in the traditional gaming, but they have totally no skills regarding implementation of the blockchain side. So this is where our blockchain department comes into the stage and helps them with this integration. And this is what we do with this partner that that the name I cannot mention. And some of those games might be, they might have infrastructure, they might have developers. Basically, they are seeking for the Steam platform experience when they are going to receive some user base. And this is also applying to games, because we are also happy to list those kind of games who are coming to us at the very late stage of their development, just for the sake of listing. So I think that we are having a good, a very high skilled team, which is taking care of those projects. And basically, we like to call us like the one-stop shop for Web3 games producers, because basically whatever need they have, we are able to fulfill it.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. If I understand correctly, you're basically building an ecosystem where you have different capabilities within the business, within the overall project, and they'll come and they'll need various different things. So maybe they're really good on the marketing and the product side, but they need help with the blockchain side. Maybe they're really good at the blockchain and product side, they need help with the marketing side. Maybe they just want that all-in-one experience where they can focus on their thing and just hand off as much as possible, and you guys do it. Yeah, I think that's a really, really enticing offer, which is actually very exciting, because if you think about it, what's happening, at least in my eyes, is that we're building platforms for the best games to be able to rise through. And it won't matter whether one game is more technologically competitive versus another one, because I mean, what you're providing to so many games, I mean, that's an amazing tool set. There are tons of amazing tool sets, around the ecosystem. So do you see that happening where eventually the tools will become so good, and they maybe they are way better than even I recognize, and I feel like they're getting really really good really fast, that the best games, purely on their ability to be great games, is that what's going to set the games apart? Or what do you think is going to be that defining factor that is really going to be the difference between some game that we don't even know the name of, so wouldn't even, can't even bring one up, versus like a Call of Duty, or just these generational titles and gaming experiences that just span across years and millions or billions of players?
So if I get you right, your question is regarding what is the competitive advantage of Web3 games over traditional games, or
No, it's
what is?
actually like I'm saying over time, I at least my current understanding, or what I'm currently seeing, is what I believe is going to happen is that the tool set that games can build with are going to be so good that eventually the game devs can actually focus on making a great game,
Okay.
and therefore the games will be defined not by their ability and their technical competence, because people like you are solving that, but on their ability to make a really fun game, or their ability to make a great game. But where are you then seeing, once we get past that technical competence, what makes a great game a great game?
Okay, I think that's a very difficult question, so I will try to address this. I think, first of all, that we are not at the stage where this kind of tools are available. Still, the development is a very high barrier of entry. This is why we need this kind of the tool set like GameSuite, but also many others tools that we are cooperating with. For example, we are having the company which is providing the whole gaming engine, which is automatically integrate this game with blockchain as the alternative for Photon on Unity. So this is still, let's say, a couple of years when we when we head to the point of your question. But speaking of this point in the future, I think it's all about the gameplay, which needs to be addictive. It cannot be repetitive. It's also about the storyline, which is very important to engage and to provide immersion inside of the game. But basically, there are a couple of types of players, and there is so-called Bartle taxonometry theory, which is applying to this. So there are a couple of types of users, and what is interesting, these skillful users, which are only they are called killers, they are in a minority. The biggest part of players are actually socializers, explorers, people who would like to have a good time in the game. So I think that's another important factor. This game needs to be a very entertaining ecosystem where people would like to spend their time into.
So when you were talking about the different types of players, it immediately brings me back to to that one South Park episode where there was that one guy that was going around killing everybody else in the server. I don't know if you've seen that one particular episode, but or like back in the day, like with RuneScape. I mean, you would spend all this time grinding out, and you walk out in the PvP area, and goodbye, you just get immediately wrecked by somebody who's way more powerful than you're ever going to be. But yeah, no, well, I think the thing we probably should be listening to, from what you're saying, and not just me giggling and making a joke out here, is the idea of the collective community of players is going to be diverse, and we need to be able to make games that can appeal to a group of players. That some are going to be the killers, some are going to be the crafters, some are going to be the adventurers and the questers and the raiders and the PvP, PvE. They're going to be guilds. There's going to be politics within that stuff, and it'll be really fun. I think that makes it really engaging. So it's interesting that you went onto the community and the player side, as opposed to like they have to have a better game loop, or they have to have a really viable economy? Or why did you go more to the community side versus any of the other facets of building a game?
Because I see that this community aspect is becoming a very important factor of the of the game success. You mentioned the game which I was also playing when I was young, and this was RunEscape, and I think I didn't play this game only due to the fact that it was on the highest possible quality, because it wasn't. It tends to lack, but it was still entertaining. And I think this community aspect was the fact that you are able to show off with the items that you crafted, with the quests that you did. Basically, everybody could find the part of the game which is typically dedicated to you. Of course, this community factors is the kind of the side effect of the good gameplay, which needs to be entertaining. But this is very closely connected with each other. I'm having also some other observation, because recently our game was listed during a traditional game conference, which was Poznań Gaming Arena, and that was the event for typically Web2 traditional gamers. And I found some of them to be a little bit offended when they've been called as traditional gamers, because they are basically gamers, right? And I think the future of gaming is not to diversify Web3 gamers from traditional gamers, but to create the ecosystem where they can coexist, because that's different kind of experience right now. But at the end of the day, I think those blockchain transactions, those NFT sites, any digital collectibles will be created underneath of the fun gameplay, and nobody will be seeking for let's say we will be called traditional or Web3 gamers. So I think that's also our mission in the Web3 world, to create the game which will attract not only Web3 gamers, but first and foremost gamers, those who are here for fun, not for financial interest.
There is this phenomenal quote, and I want to just share the essence of it, not the actual quote, because I don't want to butcher that. But it was an ancient proverb, and again, I'm not even going to try to attribute it, but it was basically saying that the oceans are underneath the rivers, and the rivers flow into the ocean. And the ocean is mightier than the rivers, but the ocean puts itself underneath the river so that the river does not feel the weight of the ocean on top of it. And I think that's what you're saying here, is that under the hood of gaming, Web3 absolutely must take over, because it is the best solution, and that's our whole goal here. But for the actual experience of the players, it doesn't matter that doesn't matter to them. They don't care what it's called. They just want it to work. They want it to be great. It's
Yes.
it doesn't at the end of the day, it almost doesn't even matter if they know or do not know. What matters is, can we get to that goal of Web3 being ubiquitous and all the technology powering things to make the things better, so that the humans can have the better experience, which should be really the end goal at the end of the day, because that way everybody wins, and all of our dreams come true, and all that kind of stuff. Is that kind of what you're saying?
Yes, that was a perfect metaphor, and yeah, thanks for summing this up. Another thing that because that's one part of the story. Another is that I still believe that there are a lot of features in Web3 gaming that will revolutionize the Web2 gaming industry, because I think here in blockchain, the Web3, we are having different type of approach to the customers. So we tend to keep those customers very close to the product, very close to the development, because a lot of things in blockchain are still in development. They are part of the longer roadmap, and this is not the case with traditional gaming. I usually the biggest titles, they are not making public beta tests. They are not inviting those gamers to test the game. They prefer to do something what Cyberpunk did, that they are making a lot of hype, a lot of marketing around the game launch, and then it's kind of the surprise. Here, for example, I think that this decentralization might introduce a different type of go-to-market strategy, where community is very close to the game development. Maybe in one time community will be able to even decide in the governance mode where the game should be, in which direction the game should follow. For example, Vitalik Buterin, there is a kind of history around him that while playing World of Warcraft, he was very angry because the character which he's been playing has been nerfed. So
they nerfed his warlock, I think.
Yeah. Yes, and that was the reason why there are rumors about that was one of the reasons why Vitalik left the game and decided to develop Ethereum.
Can I just hop in for a second?
Yes.
Warlocks definitely needed to be nerfed. Okay, so I'm not too upset about that.
But at the same time, I believe that the Warlocks might have a different opinion on that. This is why I think if Vitalik had a possibility to buy as much governance token as he could, just to pass this in voting, then he would have the feeling that at least he could some effort, he could do something about this. That's kind of the decentralization which we have in the Web3 world. So I think that's important part which could be introduced. Another thing is there is, especially now during the bear market, there is much less of the Ponzinomics. There are much less of the yield farming aggregators that create value from nothing. I think that we are coming to the stage when real yield narrative is something that is very important, and I think that's a great opportunity for also gaming, because I can imagine that the game like Fortnite, which is very successful in terms of the revenue generated on the skins, battle pass, and other assets sold to the players, they can, for example, share this revenue with the token holders or NFT holders of the game. And I think that might be another very interesting narrative, where those revenue, those fees are directly shared with owners of digital assets inside of the game, which is creating a very close bond with the game and its financial success.
Okay, you're absolutely right, and I actually don't fully understand the legal implications of that. And that's something that I'm really interested in seeing how that plays out. But let's push that aside for a second. And I realize it's a big thing to push this aside.
Yeah, but at the same time, of course, that might be the distribution of the revenue. So there must be kind of the license. It's possible.
It's possible, for sure.
It's possible. Basically, we have two routes for that. Either if you would like to be fully regulated, you need to have license for that. At the same time, this game could be fully decentralized, where the DAO is governing the whole project. Developers just create and left the projects, like many DEX 6 tends to do. So there are possibilities and solutions for that.
Well, I totally agree, and I'm glad you brought that up. All I was just getting at is the way that the incentives would then be aligned are outrageous. I mean, I know how much of an advocate I was. Let's take World of Warcraft, for example. I've played so many hours of that game, right?
Yes.
If all of the time and effort and energy and money I put into that game, if there was a way, and it didn't have to be like a get rich overnight type of thing, but if there was a way where I could participate in that in a meaningful way, and even let's dream for a second. What if you could build a career in that world I would never come out. I would still be there. I mean, this would be something that I would, from being a teenager, now I'm almost 28 years old, I would still be there. I mean, that game was incredibly deeply ingrained in my existence. And I feel a very deep affinity for the Horde. And anyways, but those players like myself, for example, I was such a fierce advocate because I wanted people to come play with me. So I would go get people. I would recruit other players to come play
Exactly.
with me and be a part of that. And like I would plant the seeds of dreaming in their mind of glory in the arenas when we're both max level, and we'll go duos and we'll go to the top and all that. But that's really cool and that's really fun. And that is something that I think is going to give Web3 a huge advantage over Web2. I mean, once we really nail the fundamentals, which we have not, like we're getting closer, but we have not done that yet. I'm not sure if we'll ever get to like 100% there. But once we do get past that, and it's almost a bit of an equal footing between Web 2 and Web 3. Right now, it's very skewed, just the amount of resources, time, development, blah, blah, blah. But once that starts to even out a little bit and it's more of a fair game, watch out, because it's going to be brutal and not in the way that a lot of people think.
Exactly. And when you speak with traditional gaming studios, because, for example, Ubisoft is trying to enter a Web3 world, they are developing their own NFT platform. Also, they are investing in Web3 games. They are part of Blockchain Game Alliance. So they see a lot of potential in this area. And those studios are all about the cost of user acquisition. And I believe that in Web3, according to what you said, this cost might be much lower, because since the users, they are having piece of the land of any digital asset inside of the game, they are becoming ambassadors of the game. They are educated about this to their friends because they want to benefit from that. I have also another idea of implementing blockchain to your favorite game, which I believe is World of Warcraft. For example, you spend a lot of time, and you would probably you might come to the point when you met a beautiful partner, and you don't have any much time to play so intensely World of Warcraft. And here's the point where you probably would like to finish. And that was my observation, that many World of Warcraft players, they tried to sell their accounts on some Amazon or other platform, but that's very, very risky, because if Blizzard discover this account could be banned. So I can, for example, imagine that your warlock or any other character that you have is the form of NFT, and since you have the highest level, you spend a lot of time to level up, this could be sold, and you can benefit fully legally from the time that you invested in the game.
Yes, I think that's huge. Now, of course, we do have to just accept the fact that if we're being forced to choose between our partner and our gaming life, well, hold on there. You may want to think about that for a second.
Yeah, maybe that's the wrong partner, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they should be downloading the game and playing with us, going on the adventure. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I think the perfect partner is to be met inside of the game. I actually know a couple of stories like this.
Okay, I think it's going to happen a lot more. I think it's going to happen a lot more. Definitely. And I'm excited to see how all that goes. Okay, so let's scope out a little bit. I feel like we've been talking about some really interesting things, and I want to just keep going down this, but in a bit of a specific way. Looking into the future, right? It is a bear market as of the time we're streaming this, which is October 11th, 2022. For those who are interested and don't want to do the math. Right now, we're in a pretty brutal part of the bear market. There is a ridiculous amount of macroeconomic uncertainty. Interest rates are rising. Inflation is, we're not sure, but it's very high. There's a war going on. There's just global crises. There's a debt crisis. There's a credit crisis. There's same thing. There's, well, not the same thing, but variations. There's a lot of different things going on, right? But never, ever, ever have I been so bullish on crypto gaming and Web3 gaming and blockchain gaming in the metaverse, because it feels like we're all just building so hard. Like everybody that I'm talking to is doing some cool ass stuff, and they're doing it with really cool people. And it just feels like this new cohort of ninjas and badasses have just erupted from the ashes and the rubble. And it feels like we're building a ridiculously powerful foundation of an industry and a community. Where do we go from here? And I'm not talking about prices of tokens and stuff like that. Let's not try to predict in that way, because we don't want to be stupid and try. But let's think about the future of the technology, the future of the community, and the future of gaming as a whole. That maybe we could give a bit of a timeline on, of like, how early are we really, and where does it end up going?
Sure. So I made kind of the analysis of the top 10 gaming studios in the world in terms of the revenue they generate. And I found some very interesting observation that basically the top 5 of those gaming studios, they are either totally negative and totally against Web3, or they tend to be neutral. For example, Sony, they with their PlayStation Store, they made a couple of. I think they've asked the question to their customers: if we introduce NFTs, what free NFT you would like to receive from which game? And there was a massive backlash from the players, even though this question was addressed in the way very positive. It was.
That was a good question.
Yeah, I think marketers did a great job here, but still they received a lot of backlash. But it doesn't change the fact that Sony that doesn't see a potential in Web3 games, because, for example, they invested in one of the runs within Epic Games, and within this investment, they are going to receive access to the blockchain know-how of which is developed inside of the Epic Games. So I think those giants, they see the potential, but they know that it's still not the time. And another observation is that when we come down with the list, not to the top 5, but maybe to the top 10 or top 20, there are more and more titles which are trying to use Web3 integration as the way to speed up and to close the gap between those top 5 major gaming studios and them. They treat this as kind of the opportunity. For example, TikTok, when they introduced their business model, this was nothing very innovative, right? This was previously proposed to be used on Facebook, Instagram, but everybody thought that it's risky to introduce this kind of the business model. And now everybody is doing quick shots like TikTok. I can see this on YouTube, I can see this on Instagram Reels, but TikTok was first, and the very important piece of the cake in terms of the social media platforms has been already taken by TikTok. And I think very similar case. It might be a very similar case with one of maybe not top 5 but top 10 or top 20 gaming developers, which are decide to take this risk and be the first blue chip in terms of integration with the blockchain. I've got the feeling in my guts that this studio might be either Ubisoft or even more Epic Games, because I think that Tim Sweeney, as the founder of Epic, is the great fan of decentralization. I think one of the main reasons why Fortnite has been delisted from Apple Store, that's a very interesting story, is due to the fact that Tim Sweeney publicly make his criticism about idea of Apple creating their centralized type of metaverse. They are definitely fans of decentralization. I've got the feeling that Fortnite in the future might go into the direction of metaverse, because when they've been asked if Fortnite is still the game, the answer was currently it is, but I cannot promise that if you ask me the same question in 1 year, the answer will be the same. So I've got, and Epic Store is actually the first major marketplace which is accepting NFTs, NFT-based games. So I think that they might be one of the great company that can benefit from that. At the same time, I think there will be one of gaming platform. Either it could be GameSwift or some other, which will start the narrative that they are the first blue chip ecosystem for typically Web3 gaming. I think this will be another very big piece of cake, and this is part of our business model. And it will be, at the end of the day, it will be up to the user experience, it will be up to the product. So I think when we are making our investment decisions, we need to compare those platforms and try to find which one has the biggest potential. Another factor is, I think that it was a very successful bull market. I mean, we are in the bear market, but there's no doubt about this, that there are a lot of profits secured during this bull market. Tier 1 VCs, they are sitting on a lot of cash. A lot of founders during this play to earn narrative, they secured amazing funding for their projects. And maybe 25% of them might turn out to be scammers and they are going to leave the space. But even if 50% of them are going to use those funds in order to develop a high quality gaming experience, I think this might be a new wave of Web3 gaming. And I don't expect this to happen this year. There are still 2 months, but it is at the end of the day all about the time. The games like Illuvium, like Star Atlas, it's impossible to build a AAA quality game within 2 years, and this is how long those games are being developed, or even I'm not even sure if that's already 2 years. So I believe that next year we can expect some fall of Web3 games, which initially they were developed for Web2 gaming, but they were convinced to switch towards Web3, and that will be the first high quality titles. But speaking of the games created from scratch, I think that could be the matter of even not next year or maybe next 2-3 years, because that's the time you need to create a high AAA quality gameplay. But still, my final conclusion is the reason why I am so bullish about Web3 gaming is the fact that the tech, the infrastructure is here. The business potential for gaming today is here, which is strictly connected with the cost of user acquisition. So it's only the time when we can expect this first ever game, which will bring the masses, which will going to be viral. Like when you check the story of traditional gaming. For example, Blizzard and World of Warcraft was kind of innovator with its subscription model, right? Before the games, most of the games were pay to play, and you had to just to pay once. Then there was another revolution, which is free to play, pay to win. That was the games that were not initially accepted by the game, but make a huge impact on the industry. And I think this will be the case with the first ever game. I think it was not Axie Infinity. Axie Infinity made a lot of let's say, hype around the space, it helps definitely to raise and bring more capital, because this unleash the potential of the space. But I think we are still waiting for the first game, like I don't know, World of Warcraft, Fortnite, or many other titles, which will bring the masses, and that will be a turning point for the whole industry.
Wow. Okay, guys and gals and robots, whatever you are, you got to go back and you got to listen to that a couple times, because that was a lot of alpha right there. And yeah, like take that, open up your brain, and just toss that right in there, and lock that key, because that's when you put in your knowledge vault and you act on. One thing I think is really fascinating about what you're saying is the fact that people who started off maybe wanting to build Web 2 saw the success of Web 3 and were like, oh my God, we have to jump over. We've seen the light. I think what was one way undervalued thing that people may not realize, and I went back and I looked at this, I found the statistics. The revenue generated by Axie in about a couple of weeks, from roughly like mid-October or maybe early October to like mid-November, maybe even October to November, right? In that span of time, it was roughly like a 30-day period of time. They generated, I think it was close to like $300-400 million in revenue. Okay. Blizzard, in all of Q4 for that same year, generated a couple billion from all of their games, all of their franchises, their millions or hundreds of millions of players. And Axie had not that many players, but ridiculous player to revenue ratio. When we saw that quickly, which came out of nowhere, it did die almost as quickly, but at that peak, that is so underrated, because a lot of these gaming businesses, they're getting killed, or they're not actually doing as well as people think they are. Like, there's a ton of money in the space, but for example, esports, a lot of that's not very profitable right now for some of the different models, right? So when people saw that, and then they just kept seeing more and more and more and more really interesting things pop up, and more smart people come over, and more funding into the space, and the evolution of the technology. That is a lot of momentum that we have right now. And I think that makes what you're saying even more important, because there's a time limit on the opportunity to be this early. Like, I'm not trying to induce FOMO in everybody right now. Believe me, I struggle with that myself. Like, I started the Crypto Gaming Institute. I spend all day, every day thinking about this stuff. I'm ridiculously exposed, and I'm not nearly as exposed as I want to be, right? Like, I wish I could, just be way, right? So, but the opportunity is so big. As a final thing, all these things are happening. How do we cut through the noise? How do we take all this information? Trying to be a master of everything is ridiculous. Trying to be even a master of crypto gaming, this one slice of the world, is ridiculous. But let's give an actionable thing for the folks that are listening and watching. What's one thing that they can take today, or whenever they're listening, and still carve out their own little piece of this revolution, this cultural renaissance, this craziness that's going on? There's going to be opportunity, whether you're listening in 5 minutes or 50 years. What's something we can grab hold on to?
I think that, at the end of the day, I guess that your audience is, their origin is from the Web3 world, right? So many of us not necessarily need to be players, but some of us are investors, right? And everybody of you is thinking about how I can benefit from this revolution. And the answer is never that simple, but I think I can give you a small hint how you can try to anticipate what game is going to be a game changer. Because at the end of the day, as I said, there is no doubt that Axie unleashed the potential of web reward. It was based on the wrong tokenomics, but there is no doubt about this that the game like Axie will be back on the stage, and this is going to lead to enormous valuation, to the life-changing opportunity. And the question which everybody of us should be asking to yourself is how I can find this type of the game at the early stage. And I believe that one of the reasons, one of the ways is to, since Web3 development is a little bit different to the traditional one, a lot of those games, in my opinion, will give you the access to the alpha version, to their beta versions, to their demo versions. So if you make a lot of engagement, for example, on some groups, you need to become OG, or you need to have some NFT, which is unlocking you the possibility of entering the game. It's worth to take that effort in order to get into the testers, alpha tester or beta testers group, because you can check the taste of the game, check the potential of the game, and you might come to the conclusion that, okay, this is the game which I'm having a great fun like I've never had, and this might help you to make this final decision and anticipation. Because if you are apart from the gameplay, if you are observing only the marketing noise, you might go to the false conclusions, because you will be subject only to the marketing hype, and at the end of the day, it might turn out that the game will not be a fun for the players. So this is and the fun factor is the one which is going to determine the success story of the game. So I see a couple of games where you can do this to try this out. I think, for example, Big Time has made some early access for their players. Another, but it's already distributed, so unfortunately, not everybody will be able. But that's also the idea behind our game, Star Heroes game. Basically, what we do, we are making a recruitment for our alpha testers, and currently we've created a couple of committees. There are hundreds of alpha testers which are battle testing the game, and our idea and approach is that we would like this game to be totally gamers and community driven. So except from introducing only VCs to the early stage of our investment round, because at this stage we were totally self-funded, so we were not in need of external funding. But our idea is to give a possibility of investing in the seed sale in the most favorable terms only to the alpha testers. So our army of players who like the game, who tested the game, they will be the first to benefit from the potential success of the game. And what is what is the source of a lot of fun for me is our first 100 alpha testers have declared a really big sum of funds to invest in game, which turns me into the kind of the FOMO mode, because I know that this type of investors are the most reliable ones, because at the end of the
They're
day,
the best.
VCs are not going to make a social engagement under your posts. They are not going to use this token inside of the game, because they are not gamers. Here, when you have gamers as in the investors, of course that some of them will take the profit, but if they like the game, and since they invested, it looks like they like, then there's a high chance that they are going to spend this inside of the game. So to sum this up, I believe the way how you can benefit is to become kind of the detective, kind of investigator, try to get early access to the games, assess their potential, and make a bet and anticipation if this game is going to become a very successful game.
I love it. Pon, I want to thank you so much for coming on the show today. I'm extremely grateful. Clearly, you're busy doing a lot of different things. Very, very exciting to hear about all the innovations you're bringing into the space, especially this idea of letting your alpha testers invest into the game, because that's mind-blowing incentive, like proper incentives right there. I mean, that's fantastic. I absolutely love that. But again, I want to thank you very, very much for sharing your very valuable time. I appreciate it.
Thank you, and I also appreciate whoever has made it to the very end of this conversation. I hope that you were pretty enjoyed.
Awesome. Well, you're the man. Thank you very much. And to everybody watching and listening, thank you very much. And I will see you all